All right, this is episode 50 of Indecisive Cinema. I've hit the big 5-0.
And we picked Sirat to talk about.
Yeah, of all the things, we're gonna pick the small foreign film that did get nominated for best foreign film. So, I mean, it's
Did it?
worth the
It did,
discussion
right?
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the category.
Right. That's
We'll
fine.
talk
That's
about
fine.
we'll talk about it in detail with
Yeah.
spoilers later in the episode. I also saw Crime 101 in theaters this week, and then you didn't tell me what you had seen, so I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Well, I saw Little Bitches.
Okay.
Um, so that's really good. But you talk about Crime 101. I was interested.
Well, first we have some movie news, though. I was just
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
going through what we're going to talk about on the episode. So, Little Bitches, you'll hit that. I'll do Crime 101,
Yeah.
and then we'll both talk about Sirat with heavy spoilers. So, but I wanted to
Yes.
talk about, I wanted to celebrate episode 50, first of all,
Yes, of
just
course.
because,
Of course.
I think that's a big achievement. Most people don't make it that far, you know?
Yeah.
It took us 11 years to get there.
Yeah.
Uh, I checked. Our first episode was January 13th of 2015. So it's been
Holy cow.
almost
Yeah.
exactly 11 years and a month as of
Yeah.
now.
A month. Yeah.
It's wild. But anyway, yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad we're doing it more consistently. I feel like I
Yes.
hope we're getting better. I think we're getting a little better at this.
Yeah.
Doing
A
it
lot. I've
regularly
gotten
helps.
comments. I've gotten comments from friends who say, "Hey, I saw it," and this and that. So I'm like, "Hey, people are watching."
Hey, that's better than I could ask for. I
I
think
know,
we're just
right?
doing this for us more so than anything.
No, no, yeah, agreed,
Like I
agreed.
just finished Sirat, and I'm like, I gotta talk about that with somebody. So
I
you
said the
know,
same. I said
yeah,
I watched this movie Sirat, so we better talk about it.
yeah. But yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about though was and I'm gonna say one line about this, and then we're moving on because I don't want to
Okay.
spend more time on it. But the new Masters of the Universe trailer just looks just terrible. What the hell is this? What is this
Cheese,
thing?
yeah,
Like
cheese, very
I
true.
don't, I'm not opposed to them rebooting that at
Yeah, yeah,
all,
agreed.
but
Yeah,
what is this? Just does not seem like it's like let's just shoot the entire movie on a green screen. Like it looks horrible.
serious.
I
Yeah,
don't know. I think they brought. It
and
looks
then
like it's a director from an animation studio. I
is
think he
that what?
did like Kubo. I forget. I looked him up
Oh,
briefly,
Kubo,
but
yeah, Kubo and the
I
Three
think he
Strings.
did some
Yes,
of
yes.
those, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so they brought in an animation guy, is what it looks like. But then it looks terrible. Like all the CG looks awful in it. I don't know, and it's just a no name. I don't know who this
Yeah, I was
lead
gonna
guy
say. I
is.
mean, yeah, I don't. That's what blew me away. It's like they didn't even have like a giant name actor to play him.
And
Like
this is
there's smaller characters in it that are
like you can't
fine.
get anybody to be in this
Jared
movie.
Jared Leto is Skeletor, which
Oh, I
I
have no
mean,
interest in that. I mean, he needs to go away. He needs to go to prison. That gentleman. God. Yeah, I mean, he's
so
like a genuine
he's the
cult
biggest
leader.
name. Oh wait,
I'm
wait, no,
surprised.
isn't Idris Elba Man at
Yeah, there's
Arms?
some
Yeah,
other.
Idris
There's
Elba's
yeah,
Man
it's
at
got
Arms.
the.
Yeah,
I'm going blank on her name. She was in Homeland. She plays
Allison, Alice.
Deadpool's wife. In the
Oh
Deadpool.
yeah. Oh my God.
She's in
Yeah.
it too. So there's like a
Sheesh.
decent cast, but it looks like those are like guest appearances because the trailers, none of them are really in the trailers, from what I saw at least. But
Yeah, from the most part. Yeah, agreed.
I didn't want to spend this much time on this. This looks awful, though, is all I wanted to say about it. It's just, I don't know who thought that was the direction for that movie, but
But you're
man,
not gonna go to the
no,
theaters just to riff on it, bro.
no. I mean, if people are saying it's something you have to go see for the sake of comedy,
Yeah, right.
I thought my headpiece was upside down earlier.
Oh,
A second ago. But yeah, no, I have no interest. This looks awful. It looks like the new Mortal Kombat movie,
I
which
was
just
gonna
looks
say
terrible.
in
Like,
the lines of Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
let's just shoot it all on a soundstage, and it looks like it has no personality and no. It just looks stale and boring and ugly. Hearing noises. I don't know if that's. Oh, that must be Marissa.
The cats. Oh, Marissa
I thought
Storm.
it kind of sounds like when George scratches at the door, but I guess it's
Oh,
just Marissa's. It's her case or something. Bye. No, you're good. I was just making sure it wasn't the cats doing damage in there. George, see you later. Um. Anyway, yeah, Master of the Universe looks terrible. I don't know what. I mean, anyway, I just was blown away by how bad that trailer looks. Uh, but the movie news that I think is really interesting is this
okay.
controversy surrounding the BAFTAs. Which have you heard about this? Have you heard about this? Have you seen
I
this? Have you
have
heard about
not. I
this?
have not. But I mean, I've seen some of the people who won. But what was the controversy?
Well, so the real life subject of the movie, it's not, it's, I think it's a fictional retelling of his story, but it's the guy in I Swear, which has gotten some really rave
Oh,
reviews. It's a
yeah,
movie
yeah, yeah,
about Tourette syndrome.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, anyway, he was in the audience during the BAFTAs. I believe it was the
Mhm.
BAFTAs. Did I get the name wrong? I think it was, but
Yeah,
he shouted the N word uh,
that's yes,
when
yes.
the
I did
Sinners
hear this.
cast was up on stage, which
Yes,
is oh, what a tricky situation this is.
right.
I mean, what do you? How do you like? First of all, I
I
have so
heard
many.
that.
I have more questions than I have actual opinions about this. But what do you do here? You can't not invite the guy. He was nominated. There's there's a risk of this happening, regardless of
Yes,
what event it is or where it is, right? But you can't not invite him. You can't like put a muzzle on him. What do you do to solve that problem? First of all, and I guess the
I
reason
did.
I asked
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
because I feel like people are like losing their minds over this, like it's like as if it was intentional. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's a strange, unique situation. Don't get me wrong,
No,
but
yeah,
like,
I
I
heard
mean, it's
about it
not like
today.
it was
Yeah.
voluntary. I just I don't. Does intention not matter? I feel like it does in this situation.
And
Um,
that's what people are saying. I think that's part of the controversy that people are saying that some people are saying, "Oh, he did that on purpose." I mean, and I know because and don't I don't want to turn people against this. Like that girl that has that Tourette syndrome show on TLC, I don't believe she has Tourette syndrome.
oh, interesting. So is that part of the discourse that people think that maybe he doesn't, or
I don't know, but I'm saying with me
hmm.
because of this girl, because like I said, I got into TikTok like 5 years ago, and she started after this other girl that I knew who had Tourette's, but she blew up because she says controversial things,
Okay.
whereas the other girl I followed says curses and stuff like that, but she doesn't say controversial things. So this girl blew up. She's got a show on TLC for the past 3 years, and I just don't believe she has Tourette's. I really
Hmm.
do not. So when this happened, it's weird because like even Rhonda will tell you that I don't believe this girl. And I just feel like someone said that today. Like, like I don't know how true it is. They said that Michael Jordan cried. Michael B.
Yeah,
Jordan cried because it was such a like he was hurt because it was such a beautiful moment.
sure.
And then he said this, and it's like you're torn because
Yeah, exactly. It's
you have to
complicated.
say it's like, how the fuck would this guy say this? But then you're
No,
like,
yeah.
oh, he has Tourette's. And then some people say, oh, but he had to say that word at this exact time. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that he didn't say it, involved because of his ailment.
I mean, he didn't. I can't comprehend a
Yeah,
scenario
I'm
where
saying that
somebody
I
would
don't.
ever say that on purpose in the middle of a crowd at an event. So, like, just the idea of that is insane. First of all,
But Jeremy, what I'm saying is that this girl will do that. I
that
know that that's
yeah,
how she became famous and popular because of that.
I
So then
can't
I say,
imagine though. Like
can this guy do that?
they went through the lengths to make a feature film highlighting the struggles of people with Tourette syndrome just to go to an award show and
And
like
wait for,
be
and then hope
racist
that
towards
they
black people.
win. Hope that they're all on stage together to say,
Like the only scenario where that would ever happen, ever in like this type of context, would be if like the person had never seen a black person. Like it's just, it's not like he lives in a bubble. Like there's some self
no, no,
awareness, but I can't
I'm not, and I hope,
imagine this. I can't even
and I'm not
imagine a scenario
laughing.
where that
I'm
was
not
on purpose.
laughing at. Yeah, I'm just saying that it's crazy that this happened, and it's crazy the controversy and
Yeah,
the aspect that it split. Some people believe he
sure.
did it on purpose. Some people say he has Tourette's. So it's like I don't know,
And then there's
but it
also a
is
lot
an
of
interesting.
criticism of BAFTA as well for not. Apparently, he left in the middle of the show after it happened or something. So I'm like, he either got removed or
Okay.
left. I don't know exactly the order of
Imagine.
operations and events, but it's like the
Oh my
producers
god.
claim that they didn't hear it when it happened because they're outside in a broadcast truck. They're not like in
Mm-hmm.
the room with everyone. And then
True,
they did
true.
issue apologies. So I'm like, who are we mad at here, other than just this is a really bizarre situation. And I
It is. It
understand
is. I'm not gonna
that that's
lie.
a horrible thing that could have happened. I'm sure he's unbelievably embarrassed.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, he said that. He said that afterward. He said
So I
a
don't
statement that
understand.
he's
I don't
so
really
embarrassed
understand what the controversy is to some degree, but because of all those things. But I'm also
to
just
some
what a
degree.
bizarre situation.
Yeah, right. I mean, when I heard about it today, I was like, "Oh my god, really?" And then that's the first thing that popped in my head. I said, "Is he really have to?" Because of that dumb girl. I hate that girl. Oh my god.
Anyway, it
Now,
was just
now I
I
question
had to talk about it. I was like, this is so
No,
strange.
no,
And
no.
half
And it is. It is crazy and weird and
anyway.
unfortunate. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the movies we saw this week.
Yeah.
Little Bitches.
So
Uh,
yeah. So I'm not
Big
gonna lie. The
swear
movie.
words.
Yeah. I don't worry. We've cursed a lot so far.
Did this come
Um.
out this year? I don't know anything about this. So give me a little
No. No.
intro.
So we. Me and Rhonda were since unfortunately we have no vehicle right now. We were stranded on Saturday. We were watching movies, and we went to Prime, and like it's the first time I saw it pop up in the Prime queue, and it stars. Believe it or not, I know it stars. Oh my god, some good actors. I'll say this.
Mhm.
Jeanette McCurdy
Okay.
is actually the main actress, and I have nothing against her. I
Well, I
actually
mean,
do
yeah,
dig on her.
I read her book last year.
Did you?
She's on a
What
streak
you?
right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what you think of that?
I mean, a brief little
The book.
review of "I Wish My Mother Was Dead" is what it's called. I forget what the book's called.
Yeah, it is. It is called.
Something
No,
along
that
those
I'm
lines.
happy. I'm happy that my mother's dead.
Yeah, yeah. I liked it. I read a few. I mean, I read a lot of memoirs. That's
Yeah,
especially audiobooks, or listen to a lot of memoirs. And it wasn't like I read 30 books last year, I think, and it wasn't in my top 10. But that doesn't mean anything. I'm not a
no,
book.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm getting into books. I'm really loving reading over the past like 2 years, but I'm not going to call myself like I think I have a better foundational knowledge of movies than I
A
do
movie, of
books
course.
for
Agreed,
sure.
agreed. Yeah,
Um, I think I liked what I liked about the memoir of hers was the kind of honest portrayal of an eating
yeah,
disorder. I think that's something that I thought was really interesting, and I think the whole clearly she had a very complicated relationship with her mother. I
yeah.
think the title is really kind of intentionally provocative,
Yes, yeah,
um, and I do think that there's like a strange lack of accountability for the reasoning for some of her struggles in a
mhm.
weird way. But it is a good book. It's very entertaining.
Okay, yeah. It's something I've always wanted to read, and now
It's
that
worth
you bring
checking
it
out.
up,
It's an easy. I blew through it in a weekend. I mean, it's.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
I
So,
think I do have the physical copy of that one. It's worth a read. But
yeah,
you know
yeah,
who if I had to pick a memoir that's to some degree about similar things, it also dives into like really dark mental health
mhm.
issues. Is She plays Tobias's girlfriend in Arrested Development. I have her book right on the other side of this wall, but I forget her name.
Girlfriend or wife?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's a comedian. She plays the one that's on methadone, or she goes to all the methadone clinics. She's like a former meth addict. She's very funny. God, I feel bad for not remembering her fucking name. She's touring right now, and I can picture her face from the cover of the book. Let me find it. Um. Anyway, continue talking about
Well,
little bitches while I.
so it came out 8 years ago. It came out in 2018, and we never heard of
Okay.
it. And I think it's making the rounds because not only is Jeanette McCurdy got the new book,
Mhm.
but Kirstie Clemens is in it, I love her,
She.
and Virginia Gardner did that movie F Valentine's Day, which is
Okay.
what we saw as well. But basically, it's directed by Nick Kreis, and I got to look at what else he's done, but it has an interesting cast, but it's like very American Pie-ish,
Okay.
but like nonstop funny. Like it's really really good. It's very funny. It has a like everyone in it is dead on. Like Kirstie Clemens was actually the character I think I like the least of the three girls. Jeanette McCurdy and Virginia Gardner were the I think the two bigger stars, but it's basically it begins as they're freshmen and they're at the senior goodbye party, and they egg the popular girls at the end of this little thing. They swear that they're too cool for school and they're never going to be like that, and then cut to 3 years later, and something happened that broke them up. But Jeanette McCurdy's character of Annie is just like still fight for their friendship. Uh, Kirstie Clemens, Marissa, and that's every time I heard her name, I thought of your wife. And she's like the one who was part of the incident, who's like very, I'm too cool for school, I'm a rebel. And Virginia Gardner, who's Kelly, she's like now one of the popular girls. And it's like this thing that they vowed to open up their admission envelopes together at the senior when they were seniors at this
Mm.
big senior bash, and it's just very honest and raw. Like like in American Pie, outside of oh my god, what's her name? Babe, what's her name? Oh my god, from Buffy.
The lead,
Uh,
Buffy,
the
or
one, no, Willow's character who ends up like saying, at one time at band camp, like she's the one who's like, I mean, the girls in American Pie, it's mostly about the boys' sexual thing, and it's
sure,
very open about that. Like, and the girls are kind of like progressive, and they talk about certain things, but this is like so open, like Allison Hannigan, yeah, and it's like she's like the most like when she talks about I put a flute in my vagina, I'll say, but it's like it's just very like it's like a American Pie, but it's more the females talking, and they're
mm.
very open and honest about their sexual, and it was like me and Rother were laughing because it's like to hear it from that perspective is funny, and the guys are more like the idiots and the assholes, even though in American Pie they are too, but they're looked at from the outside, but
Sure.
it's just very well written. The script was very funny. Like everybody has some really great lines, and it was just a surprise because, like I said, we just saw it. We saw Virginia Gardner in it, and we were going to watch Valentine's Day. So we thought, let's watch it. Jeanette McCurdy was in a movie, and I never saw her like as a star
Sure.
of films
Yeah, she
outside
hasn't
of
been in
Nickelodeon.
much as an
Yeah,
adult.
so and then like I said, Chrissy Clemens was in it, so we watched it, and it was really good, it was really funny, and I definitely would say if you're have nothing to do and you're on Prime, check it out. It was very very good, and I liked it a lot. And even though that would have been like my suggestions movies, but still, I think that was a surprise movie of the weekend, even above F Valentine's Day because it was okay, it wasn't great.
Mm.
But this movie, like this little movie from 2018 that had a no distributor or whatever, was really well done and very funny, and I liked it. So
How would you compare it to other, I guess like I would call some of them great, but like Booksmart or like other coming of age, high
you know what?
school
I'm
dramas
stupid. I'm
or
stupid
comedies?
because yes, it was probably because Booksmart came out that year, I think, or maybe the year
I
before.
forget,
But
probably
it's
2019. It was pre-COVID, I think,
yeah.
right?
So it's basically a smaller studio budget version of that.
Yeah, makes sense. Because
And
Booksmart is a really
though I love
expensive movie. Yeah,
correct, and I love Booksmart. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like they were the two stars of that,
sure.
and though they were like that, they talked openly and they were raw like that.
Yeah,
Um, this movie was I don't know. I just felt it was like I enjoyed. Not Booksmart's very well written. So actually, now that you say that, it's a
both
lot
good
like
movies. I
Booksmart.
wasn't. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
ultimately, it's just
But
for the sake of
yeah,
conversation, not so
but
much,
yeah, no, that was a
to
good question.
actually, rank them or something. But I just was curious in
Yeah,
comparison.
but yeah, I don't know why. I guess because I haven't seen Booksmart in 5 6
It's
years,
been a while, yeah, since it came
but
out. I
this
love
one, now that you
Booksmart.
say that, yeah, oh yeah, I know you do, I do too. But yeah, so it was a lot like that. But I just felt like it flows quickly. It's
Hmm.
like they talk. It was almost like watching a Tarantino film if it was a comedy,
Hmm.
not And it was like everything goes smoothly, and it's like it's like the jokes sometimes go a little bit too fast. You're like, oh my god, that was funny.
Hmm.
And we
Just dense
luckily we got to
in a good way.
pause it and stuff. But yeah, I did dig it. So yeah,
Nice.
that was a
That's
movie I
Little
enjoyed.
Bitches, right? Just so I get the.
Little bitches, yeah, yeah.
Well, I saw Crime 101 and had to
Hmm.
sit through the Masters of the Universe trailer to get to it. I also not huge on this movie, but I not it's not completely unsuccessful. But it's from director Bart Layton, who did The Imposter, which I love. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
kind of it's a documentary. It's about a crazy story about a kid that
yeah.
like left tech like Central Texas, and then 20 years later something is found in Spain,
In Spain.
and comes home to the family, and then maybe he isn't who he says he is, and it's a really brilliant kind of documentary
Yeah,
that there was fictionalized components to it, or at least some reenactments, and it's
yeah.
very cinematic in its construction. Same thing with American Animals, which is the other film that he did, which I really like.
I like
It's
the American
about
Animals
it's the
more than
heist, the art heist film. So
yeah, yeah.
both are really interesting
No, no, yeah, they
documentaries.
both, yeah, yeah.
This
Hmm.
isn't a documentary though. It's definitely
Yeah,
like
crime drama.
it's a crime. Yeah, it's heat for the modern age. Whether or
Hmm.
not it lives up to that, I'll get to later. But ultimately, I mean, it's based on a novella by Dan Winslow. I don't really know much about him, but so I don't know how this relates to the novella at least. But
Yeah,
worth noting. Chris Hemsworth plays Davis. He's he's a thief. He's a thief that sticks to his rules and is very by the book, very reserved. He's trying to get his last score so that he can have freedom in his life. He's
Yeah.
partnering with Nick Nolte, who I did love to see Nick Nolte in something.
Oh, really?
Um,
Oh,
Nick
okay.
Nolte plays like the guy that finds him the gigs and that he basically is robbing like people that own expensive art,
Yeah, yeah,
rich people art that it's insured, so he's kind of robbing the insurance companies. So there's that component, which you like that. It's all good.
yeah.
He's the thief with a heart of gold. Um, but and then Mark Ruffalo plays the detective that's on his case, trying to find him. The Al Pacino character. You also have Barry Keoghan who plays. It's got a great cast. That's probably the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah,
strength
yeah.
of the movie. Barry Keoghan plays Ormond, which is a really dumb name, but anyway, he's like a chaotic, kind of. I don't know what the word is, but the opposite of Chris Hemsworth. He's like the contrast to Chris Hemsworth's character. He also plays a young kid that's trying to like essentially work with Nick Nolte to try and he just has like a completely chaotic approach. He's really violent. He's a
Yeah,
thief, but he's like violent in his approach and is very just destructive in as opposed to Chris Hemsworth's calculated prepared approach. So he's
mm,
kind of like the catalyst in this situation at least, or in this movie. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But Halle Berry also plays Sharon, who works for one of the insurance agencies that Chris Hemsworth's character's ripping off, or ripping off their clients. So she works in like the insurance companies that insure high-end art. It's like a really
yeah,
specific, dumb, like that's like a movie job.
yeah.
You could make her just a normal, like she's an insurance broker for like, I don't. It's just like no. She insures wedding parties and the goods that they hand out, the goodie bags that they hand out at the wedding parties. You're like, that's. I'm sure that's a real job, but like that's a movie
Yeah.
job.
It's a movie
Um,
job.
Jennifer Jason Leigh shows up for a scene to break up with Mark Ruffalo. All these characters are kind of, in their own ways, going through crisis. They're not crises completely, but they're at least trapped in just these systems that are designed against them. Let's say that. So you have your main three kind of protagonists: Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, and Halle Berry's characters. I'm just going to call them by the actors. It's hard to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's
Go
too many
ahead.
people to keep track of. They're all kind of wishing for something better, wishing for freedom from these systems or environments that they're in. That's kind of the commonality between them. This is this movie is like really well executed. It owes a lot to Michael Mann, obviously, in
Yeah, yeah,
both
yeah.
tone and style and construction, and it owes so much to Heat. Or
Yeah.
actually haven't seen Thief, but I know enough about it
Thief
to
is a
know
great film. Yeah.
it owes a lot to that too. He even like Chris Hemsworth's character like has the apartment from Manhunter, uh, like that like apartment
Is
on the
that a?
beach
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
that movie. Yeah, he has. It's not the same apartment, I'm sure, but it's the
Oh, I
same
thought you were
visual.
saying that's a plot point. I was like, oh, that's weird.
I mean, ultimately, it's just they all strive for the beach. There's
Yeah,
the motif that's
yeah,
ran throughout where they're all talking about wanting to escape their lives and go to the beach. That's why you come to LA. There's all these dumb
yeah,
lines
yeah,
about it. Anyway,
yeah.
it's fine. This movie's fine. It's I think I'm a little cold on it because I think it just doesn't quite live up to its the clear inspirations that it pulls a lot from. But it
Yeah.
is well executed. There's really well executed sequences, occasional surprising moments. Payman Mahdi, I don't know if that's pronounced right. He was the lead in A Separation, which I love. He pops up
Oh, yeah.
for a scene or two. I like the anti-capitalist idea at the core of it. I think the way it ties that messaging into the narrative is very loose and kind of self-righteous in a weird way. It's like one of my problems with it is it's like I mean ultimately yes, I love that they're robbing insurance companies, right? But it doesn't
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
that
of
there's
course.
not consequences for committing grand larceny and armed robbery. It's like there's a component of like I don't know that you can redeem these characters just because we sympathize with the main goal. It's a weird kind of blend of tone, and then I also think Halle Berry just only exists in this movie as a plot device, and I really don't like what they do with her character. A lot of my problems with it are very much specific to the ending and
Yeah.
the general. I just don't think it quite earns some of the there's a lot of conveniences that set up the final sequence, and I think it just tidies up in a little too convenient of a way. So I don't. It's just kind of a. It's well executed. It's well shot. There's lots of shots of LA traffic. Um, good performances across the board, even
Yeah.
for characters that are kind of again used as a plot device. It's really like it's totally fine. It's just really kind of surface level. It's a movie I will forget that I saw in a month.
And it was right. Yeah.
And it's an expensive one. It was a $90 million movie, and it's made 45 million is what I read. So I mean, it's been out for
Far.
2 weeks or
Or,
something. So
oh yeah.
it'll probably
Wasn't as
make its
bad.
money back. It's kind of a dad movie. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there was a ton of 40, 50-year-old men in the audience when I went. Just a ton of dads out.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go see that new heist movie. These kinds of movies always do well. There was one I saw with Gerard Butler of all people. They made a sequel to it. I forget.
Oh, Greenland.
No, no, no. It's a heist movie. It's the same movie.
Oh, a
It's
heist movie. Oh, okay.
sorry. It's yeah. There was a movie that came out like probably 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. That was
Yeah, I'm trying to
almost
think of the
identical to
name
this.
now.
It's a movie that's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
trying to be Heat. Den of Thieves is what it's called.
Den of Thieves. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Part two.
fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. And there's some sequences that are fun. But I think all in all, when you start looking at something like this and just, I guess the big question is, does it live up to its inspirations? And does it
Yeah.
add anything new to the genre? In my
Yeah.
opinion, if you're gonna just remake Taxi Driver, right? Like people say about Joker and things like that. If you're gonna
Yeah.
remake Heat, are you providing any kind of new information? I don't think it quite does that, and I think while it's fine, it's totally serviceable and well executed. And again, I've said that a million times. It's kind of like what's the point? What is this movie? It doesn't feel like it's saying anything we haven't seen before. And
Yeah.
despite some good performances, and there's some moments that I was like, oh, some of the car stuff in this. Whoever they hired for like their second unit director did a fantastic job with all the like. It reminds me of Drive in a lot of ways. Like it's very
Oh, okay.
stylish and very well executed. Again, I've said that a million times, but anyway, just doesn't quite get there. And it's got good reviews. I'm sure if you caught it on Netflix or something. It's 2.5 hours though, which is also
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
it's like it's a hard recommend because it's like it's just not worth the wait. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Just kind of I wish I had gone and saw the new Matt Johnson movie. Is it Nirvana? The Nirvana movie. I don't know much about it. My friend just recommended it. I wish I'd seen something else, but I don't. It's not completely unsuccessful. Again, it's. I think I'm. I think you would watch this and you go, oh, he's pretty negative on it, but I think it's just because it doesn't provide anything new.
Yeah.
But
It's not a movie like, I always say, Rhonda, we're going to see that in theaters. She's like, nope. So it's probably going to definitely be on streaming and I'll catch it.
and it's
But
totally
yeah, no,
fine for that. Like I think you could
yeah, yeah,
watch
yeah,
it
yeah.
and be entertained by it. I think
Yeah.
it just doesn't quite build up to anything that's that interesting, despite some decent performances.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's not eye rolling. There is occasional dialogue where like Halle Berry like tells her boss like, "What about the meeting where I'm supposed to be considered for partner?" And you're like, "Who wrote this?" Like it's just occasionally sounds like actors reading lines, but
Really, yeah.
um, it has a good tone. I like the tone of it. Chris Hemsworth's actually pretty good in it. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not as interesting to talk about as Sirat, which is brings us to our spoiler-filled discussion for the day. Um, I can give you a brief synopsis. We're going to do spoiler-free for now. I'm
Yeah.
going to give a brief
Okay.
synopsis for anyone that is curious about it. It was one of the nominees for Best Foreign Film. Um, a father, accompanied by his son, goes looking for his missing daughter in North Africa. Morocco, I believe, is where the film at least
Yeah.
opens.
Yeah.
And it's Spanish language. There's some English, some French
Mhm.
mixed in there too.
Yeah.
The director apparently is from France. He also lived in Spain for a while, so he speaks Spanish and Galician, which I didn't even know was
Yeah.
a segment of
Because and
Spanish.
there's Arabic as well there because
Yes,
where
because
they
the
are. Yeah.
title is Arabic.
Yeah. Yeah. Is Arabic
Um,
for Journey Road. Yeah.
so yeah. Anyway, it's a thriller. I don't know what you'd call this. It's a hard film to
What do you
describe.
call it? Yeah, I wouldn't call it that at
I mean,
all.
it's kind of a road trip film. I'll say
Road
that. I
trip
think that's
film,
accurate.
drama. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it's a
Definitely.
descent into uh, hell. I don't know, to some degree. I think that's what it's going for. We'll get into more
Interesting.
detail on that.
I like that.
I guess the only thing I wanted to talk about before we do spoilers is like, would you recommend this to someone? I
You
know
know,
it's a weird, it's a hard
I would
answer.
it's almost like last week. I would recommend it to someone like you,
That's fair.
a film lover who likes to see all types of genre of film.
Sure.
And because there are a couple of scenes that I was like, what? I would say, oh, Jeremy, you gotta watch this,
Oh, there's a couple
but
scenes for
no,
sure.
yeah, no, like Rhonda's been doing really well watching the movies with me and watching the trailers. She was like, yeah, not at all. And
Sure.
afterward, I always tell her, oh, well, you're gonna miss out. And afterward, I was like, well, yeah, she's all right.
I don't think this is a Marissa movie either, and I'm kind of with
Yeah,
you on that.
definitely not. I thought about it, and I just kept saying, well, besides Jeremy, who can I recommend this movie
Sure.
to? And I know I like my cousin. She's a poet. She's a professor, and she lives part time in Morocco.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
I
Yeah.
definitely recommend this. So
Sure.
she watches our show, so I know she's gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna watch it." But
Because I
I'll
do
be
think the
honest.
landscape is a huge selling point for the movie. I think that's the best.
It's
If you can see
okay.
this on the big screen,
It's
I mean, it is stunning
okay.
to look at. And if you're from
That is
Morocco,
correct.
I bet it's just a cool thing to see that
No, no,
portrayed.
no, definitely. And since you said that, I always forget that. Like like watching a Clint Eastwood movie. What I love about his westerns are it's beautiful to watch. Like James
Sure.
Ford or John Ford, you watch them because of their beautiful cinematography,
Mhm.
and and I'm pretty sure you're right. There are certain landscape shots where you can say, "Oh man, that would have been nice to see on a big screen," but again, I don't know outside of you and Ellen. I don't know who else I would
Yeah.
recommend this film.
I wouldn't describe it though as like an art film because I mean, it
You
is the themes of
wouldn't?
it. Well, and this is a talking, but it's worth it. I think the first
Yeah.
hour, it takes a long time to get moving. And that's
Oh yeah.
my biggest fault to it, in my opinion. I mean, I appreciate like the road trip approach of it's almost documentary. It's
Agreed.
like, and it
Yes.
seems like they filmed it that way too, where you just go on the road with this cast of wackos. I mean,
Yes.
you got a
Agreed.
guy with a
Agreed.
missing hand and a missing
And
leg.
leg.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's like just like where do you find these people with these? It's just what a bizarre group of folks to put on screen all in the same movie. I think that's a great part of it. I like
And
how
and
unique
and
the cast is, and
yeah, to add to that, it's like not a spoiler because if you saw the trailer, you might have caught it. But being that they come from the rave scene,
sure.
you have a melange of people who are into
Mhm.
that rave
Yeah,
scene.
literally
So
on like
that's
the
why,
fringes of society, or at least
yeah,
the kind of
exactly. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
it totally fits the characters and
Correct.
yeah, you're right. I think that's a good point. I guess that's something worth talking about for spoiler free. But
Yeah,
anyway, if you
yeah.
haven't seen the movie, it's a hard sell because I think the first hour of it is a hard. It takes its time. Kind of. I don't even think it's building a foundation. I mean, it's warning that there might be something later, and I do think it pays that off with something interesting at the very least. I think it has some, like you were talking about, a couple sequences that I think are absolutely breathtaking
Yes,
sequences
yes.
that are for those that appreciate film. I think it's worth a watch, knowing that it takes its time, kind of getting there. Anyway, yeah, it's a hard sell for
Very, very
general
much.
audiences. I don't want to use that in like a derogatory term, but just
No,
like
no,
yeah,
no, not at all. No,
I don't think this
I
is a
understand.
Marissa movie, and that's okay. I also don't think it's like a sentimental value art house film either, though. Like I think the
Agreed.
themes of it
Agreed.
are more arty in terms of I think it is,
I
which we'll get to.
Yes.
But anyway, so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
kind of a hard recommend. But I was blown away by a couple sequences in it. Like there's some stuff in it that I just was like, I can't believe that happened on screen.
Happened. Yes.
So
And
we'll get to
and
that.
I
But
don't.
spoilers from here on out.
Yeah. So I will say this. I felt duped in a way because the film's premise opens up with the hunt for the daughter,
Sure.
and that's the farthest thing from this film. That's the one.
Yeah.
Number two, and I know it's not a comparison per se, but talking about like WTF, the scene that I think you were talking about, which is on the cliffs, on the edges, and they're
Yeah.
trying to get.
Well, let's just get
Yeah,
to it. We're in
yeah.
spoilers.
So the
Yeah, I
scene
mean, when they
where
kill the son, you're like, what the fuck?
when Lewis's son dies, it almost felt like Hereditary for me
Sure. And I do think
because
it completely flips
yeah,
the movie on its head. Yeah, I agree.
definitely. And it's like I'm like watching and watching and at that point I was like, oh my god, if they don't find this kid or the daughter, I'm turning this off. And then that happened, and I was like, holy shit! And it's like it just brought me back to that moment when me and Gloriano watched Hereditary, and after the daughter, the sister dies, I kept saying, this is a dream sequence, right? This
Hmm.
didn't really happen.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
feel real.
yeah, and the same thing happened to me. I was like, wait, is this like he would do since they were doing drugs or whatever and I didn't believe that it happened.
Hmm.
And then when it happened, I still didn't believe like there was going to be this tragedy. And then it does, and I'm like, holy shit, what? And that's how I
Sure.
felt. And it's just it's just so amazing how because of that turn, it kept me invested in the film.
Sure.
Because
I
then
mean,
I
yeah,
kept going because up until that point, I was almost like, what? This is a movie about nothing so far.
sure.
But
Yeah.
then that happens, and then I was like so invested, and then it takes more turns, and then I was like, holy shit. But yeah, I mean that was the one of the moments, and I don't know if the other moment you
Yeah,
talk
I mean
about
the other moment
the
is when
ending
the first
sequence was,
explosion happens when they're dancing
oh
in the
my god,
wilderness
I
and
know.
then
I'm
she
like,
fucking blows up and you're like, "Holy shit."
she was
Like
like,
and
oh,
then
make it, she's like, put the
yeah.
music louder, make it
I
explode, and then boom. And I was like, what?
God. And then
I was like,
everyone
holy.
blows up and you're like, "Wow,
And then
this
yeah,
it
and then
turns
like
into like
the other guy does, and then
it turns
I
into
was
the
like,
deer hunter." You're like sitting here, you're
yeah,
like,
right.
I mean,
And then that's what I was
it's
thinking. I was like,
something. I mean,
who's
ultimately,
next?
though, so like I think in these discussions, I want to break down because I just saw it a couple hours
Yeah,
ago. I
yeah, yeah,
finished
yeah,
it like at
yeah,
4 o'clock. Um, let's talk about now that we know we let the
yeah, yeah,
movie happen
yeah.
to us,
We let
and it really does. I think it really it punches you in the gut. I think, and
oh yeah,
whether or not it's
yeah,
I think it's emotional. I think it is emotionally effective.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I'm not gonna say
after the
no.
thing happens, right?
Yes,
I mean, I think though, like looking back, knowing where it goes from beginning to end, and I think the
yeah,
first
yeah.
thing worth talking about is the title of the film, Sirat, which is I wrote it down here. So
Arabic journey.
it's
Nope.
yeah, it's Arabic. It says in Islamic eschatology as Sirat, so it's abbreviated. It is the bridge spanning over hell that all souls must cross on the day of judgment to enter paradise. Right, described in tradition as finer than a hair and sharper than a sword, it represents a final perilous trial where the righteous pass swiftly while the wicked fall in fire. Right, so interesting. I
Yeah,
think there's an
right.
interesting idea there. At least when you consider everything that we just watched.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think there's some subtext that I don't have fully figured out. The
Mhm, mhm.
military is one component of that.
Number one,
The
I thought it was a political film when that happens, and then on the radio you hear about the stuff like unrest, and I said, "Where's this movie going to go? Is it going to go into a political angle?" And
Well,
that's
I think it's this there's this talks of World War III. I think there's this
yeah,
idea
yeah,
that there's an impending disaster. It's like will we recover from it? I think we just oh you're
yes,
back.
yes.
You just froze there
You're
for a
fine.
second.
Oh, sorry.
And so it's like no, you're fine. Ultimately though it's like, there's this idea that the world is going to end, which I
Yes,
think
yes.
when you look at the title of the film and at least the way it parallels to that concept,
Okay,
the
okay,
idea of
yeah,
this descent into hell, or like ultimately just this journey into darkness, if nothing else,
yeah.
right? Like this,
I mean that
you can
works.
look
Yeah,
at the film as this like, and it feels that way. I think when you're
yeah,
watching that first
yeah,
half, I do think the
yes,
score is unsettling. I think the score rips. I really like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the not only the rave stuff, but just the way that it's almost like Mad Max. I mean, it like
yeah,
has these
yeah.
elements of not only the visual of the three cars like driving around the road where we get the title card. It's like
Mhm.
30 minutes into the movie, you get the
Yeah, I
title
know,
card
right?
for the movie,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that score is like propulsive underneath it, the way that like the rave music is, and I mean,
yes,
it really drives it. There's this idea that there's this impending doom.
doom. Yeah.
Um, but again, you're sitting there watching nothing happen for an hour, going, okay, where are we going with that?
Oh, yeah.
But there is not nothing happening. Again, we talked
No,
about
no, no,
the
no.
hearing
But you
about
know
this
what I
war on
meant.
the radio.
Yeah,
This that
yeah,
you see
yeah.
this what appears to be some kind of collapse, societal collapse, or some kind of there's at least a fear of just the world ending. And I think I guess what I'm confused about is like it talk like in the title talking about being judged for whether or not you are worthy or not. My question would be, these characters aren't super flawed, Like we don't have
yeah.
like obvious flaws. This is, this protagonist of ours. Like, is he being judged for something, and why
Yeah.
is he being punished by with the death of his son? For is one of the main questions I have.
Well, okay.
Right.
So then, with that, what it led me to believe, and you're right. It's interesting you say that. But then, what happened to the daughter? Like later
Sure.
on,
That's
they
another
said,
talking point. Yeah.
yeah, because one of the Boogie says, he goes, oh, your sister ran away, and
Hmm.
the son
No, she
Esteban
left.
says, she says, no, she left. She's an adult.
Hmm.
And then I was like, okay, so then what happened? And I thought that there was something in that, like something the father may have done, and that's why he's going
Sure.
on this like journey.
Yeah.
And then now you're
I
bringing
actually
up
had the
what
same
happened.
thought now that you say that. I
Yeah,
forgot about that.
and then the son dies, and then that's where that could say like, damn, this motherfucker must have been an evil person. That not only is the daughter gone, but now his son fucking dies like this. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Is that
No, it's an interesting
what
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
I
but
just
I will say though, it's like subtext, right? It's
yes,
like
yes.
there's some I had the same thought as you, and maybe there is an assumption there that maybe
Yeah,
an act that he committed is the
yes,
reason that his daughter left him, and is the
yes,
consequence that, or the consequences of all of his actions are this horrible tragedy. And
yes,
that's an interesting idea. I don't
yeah.
know that is explicitly stated in any way based on what I
No, no,
saw.
yeah,
I'm not saying it
yeah.
isn't the case, but I would, I mean, I liked this enough because I think this reminds me a lot of something like the like Mandy. Have you seen Mandy
Mm.
yet?
Yeah, of course, yeah, yeah.
Where the first half feels like you're like watching and you're like, what is this thing that I'm watching? And then the second half happens and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, there's,
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, clearly this is, in my opinion, it won me over enough to be worth
Yes.
revisiting.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah,
And
I
so
like
maybe
Mandy.
going back through it with that in mind and with just the broader, just knowing where it goes.
Yeah.
But then, again, like he wasn't the only one that survived this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
at the end, you wonder like maybe his punishment was the death of his son, like he in pursuit of the daughter that he, if what you're saying is right,
Yeah, yeah.
that then that ending sequence on the train with what looks like a
Straight.
bunch of immigrants. I don't quite know
Yes.
if
Yes. It was
politically, I can't imagine that's relating to
I
Western
was thinking that
politics. So
they were also like because of the politics, I was thinking refugees
mhm.
getting away from this because at one point they said, oh, the military is kidnapping the people and then
Sure,
bringing them someplace. So I'm thinking that these are the people who got away and hopped this
yeah.
train as well.
And so they're
And that's
making it
why,
to the promised land or to freedom, right? Like maybe
yeah,
conceptually
yeah,
in regards to that. Yeah, that was something I wanted to talk about too. Is just that train sequence, and because it
yeah,
clearly, I do agree that that's kind of what it looks like. Is them they've made it, to some degree. They've like
yeah,
escaped.
yeah.
And I do think the military component of it is a huge subtext that is,
Yeah, subtext.
but
Yes,
I
subtext. Yeah,
don't fully have that figured out, right?
yeah. Because
But
the mines were then planted by the military. I mean, who else would
sure,
have done that? So that's
yeah,
why that I agree is subtext because I'm like, that's the first thing I said. I said, I said, who planted them? And they said, oh, well, the whole military thing. I said, maybe the military did. I said, but then for what? To catch who? And then, those questions started running around my head. And I was like, people trying to escape the military. And then,
sure.
it's like, so yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't know the answer to that question. I think it's just
Mhm.
worth discussing, and I do think there's something there.
Yeah.
I mean, whether or not I assume that the son's death would be punishment for something. If we're,
Yeah. Yeah.
inside, ultimately, yeah, is it just a consequence of like a dangerous journey or a choice to
Yeah.
go on this journey? It doesn't. That seems too dramatic
Yeah.
to just be a consequence along the way of, in my opinion.
Agree. I agree.
Um,
I agree. Yeah.
I also think he's the one that put him in the truck, which is worth noting
Yes.
because he
Which is
tells
yeah,
him
he
to
says that. Yeah.
get
He's
off the
telling him
ledge,
to
and
go
and
inside.
there's
Yeah.
something really I mean, I don't know how they pulled off that sequence because I really think, I mean, I mean, it looks like he. I mean, like, I don't know how you film
It was
that.
a
I
one. It
really,
looked like it looked like a one shot. Like
I mean,
you don't
it's
see when
really
they shoot.
impressive and it's
It
very
is. Yeah.
emotionally effective.
Unless they had something like when it does go over, he landed
Maybe
on.
it's CG'd after a certain point and it
Maybe,
just
yeah.
is it's
Like, well,
done
that's a
well enough
great
that
cut. Yeah,
I
that's a
mean, it's
great.
really
Yeah.
it looks great.
It does. It does.
But yeah, and then there's also, there's a lot of religious motif throughout the
Yes,
film. Not
yes,
only visually, I think there's like, you see the cross and the speaker, and then you see, these ravers are like, they appear to be in like an act of worship almost, which is disrupted by this military. Like they're in this peaceful, this place of peace, right?
peace.
And then the military shows up and completely dismantles that. And I think, in terms of like the inciting incident of the film isn't necessarily his daughter leaving, right?
Yeah,
I do think to some degree it's like, they're on the run from the military, because it's disrupting this. But it's less so to the main character because he's not really
yeah,
there to partake in that activity.
yes,
But
yeah.
I guess
Agreed.
to the other characters in the film, I suppose it is. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you think overall it's successful? Like that's one thing, one of the questions I wanted to ask. Like just as a movie, what it's setting out to achieve, taking into context all the things we just talked about. Like, do you think it's? I think it's successful in establishing a tone, and I think delivering on
Yeah,
that tone. I think that's
yeah.
something I would really say. I think the landscapes of the film
I
are
mean, yeah, it's beautiful in that
looming,
aspect.
and but
Yeah.
I think they're a force though. I think like they're, this is very much like a man versus nature kind of movie, and I think the landscape contributes to the feeling of isolation,
Isolation,
and
yeah.
like the danger of the landscape becomes progressively more dangerous as they, travel along this journey. Because at the beginning it's just like, oh, we got to get the car across,
Yeah, the
a
water. Yeah.
river, and then which
Yeah.
is, these are scenes that I like wish that you could cut down a little. It's fine.
I
But
mean, you have the big, yeah,
there are also
like
moments where I'm like, this scene looks dangerous to film. Like there's just stuff in this movie that just is. But then you have
I
like the
said, you know what?
dog sequence, which in hindsight, I don't fully understand why that's there. Him
Oh,
like
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
getting sick and
May
almost dying.
Well, so yeah, you know what I thought of when you were saying that first? A bunch of movies came to mind again, and I know I always say when I talk about the podcast, I say I'm the old guy who brings up movies that he may not
Yeah.
have known, but like Sorcerer,
Okay.
or
Interesting. Yeah.
Wages of Fear,
Sure.
the whole trucks with nitroglycerin crossing rocky roads.
Yeah.
That imagery shows up later. What's the not Hidalgo? The one with that crazy guy filmed.
Oh.
The one that they're bringing a riverboat and they have to go across the Argentinian mountains to bring it because there's no other way to get there. I thought of that.
I don't know.
But yeah,
I mean,
I'll
I thought
find
of
it.
Lawrence of Arabia also. I mean, like there's,
Other films, yeah.
obviously the
So
desert, just desert landscapes,
yes,
movies.
and I did, yeah, that did bring those, that evoked that where you're on this edge of the thing, and
Sure.
so and it was scary in that aspect, like what's going to happen, and something's going to happen,
It does feel like
um,
they like were legitimately, this was like dangerous to film in the way that Lawrence of Arabia or something like there's, I don't know how you execute some of these sequences in this, not only the
yeah,
explosions but just the landscape components. I mean, these look like they're in the middle of nowhere. It's like,
nowhere, yeah.
like how much crew do you have on something like this? I was really fascinated by that, just the execution of this idea. Like, are they actually on a cliffside, or is that just all like, like did they do like
CGI.
rear projection? I mean, it does. I mean, it could be, but it's convincing enough that I certainly
Oh,
couldn't tell the difference.
what I was talking about was Fitzcarraldo,
Oh, okay, I
directed
haven't heard of it.
by our famous Warner Herzog. That's who I was trying to
Oh,
get.
okay, yeah.
And
Well,
Klaus
that or
Kinski
that.
plays. Yeah, so you definitely, if you ever catch that, it's got to be on Plex. Check it out because it's about a producer who's trying to get this showboat on the other side because that's where riches and glory come, on the other side of
Mm,
this mountain, and he hires all these like uh peasants or poor people in this country to bring this riverboat from one side of the mountain to the other, and they're going over terrain like that. So that popped up in my head. But you got to, but the Brian Tree for an extremely determined man who intends to build an opera house in the middle of the jungle. Okay, there it is. So yeah,
mm.
yeah. But if you ever catch it, just for me and you,
Yeah,
because
yeah, for sure.
Warner Herzog is like one of our directors. I mean, a lot of
No,
people
I
don't really
actually,
know.
yeah, I have a lot of his stuff on Plex now that I've been
Yeah,
meaning
yeah,
to watch. Just some of his older stuff that I haven't seen. I've seen like Grizzly Man and
yeah. That's right.
several of his films, but off the top of my head, I can't think of. But yeah, I haven't gone through his whole filmography, so I've always wanted to. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the other thing of note is there's a line in the middle of the film where one of the side characters, I forget her name, they're talking about the speaker, and she's talking about how she likes to
Yeah,
recycle, parts,
yeah,
and she's like,
yeah,
no sound is the same, and she does say like you never know when it'll play its final sound when she's talking about the speaker,
yeah,
and I think
yeah,
that's an interesting, and then you have like these sequences of like threat of death with the
yeah,
dog,
yeah, with the dog. Yeah,
and then actual death later in the film. I don't know how that ties in. I mean, I think that you never know when it'll
maybe
play
it,
its final sound is just a general idea about death and life and all those things. But
I think maybe they did that right because a dog's a dog. No, I'm a dog lover. I love animals. I love dogs.
sure,
But maybe to give you some type of feeling for the dog because he gets sick or she gets sick, and then she's back to health, and then also she fucking dies in that car thing. So I
did
think
she
maybe
die
they
though?
did.
I thought they carried him at the
No,
end
remember they have
sequence.
two dogs. The Ravers have their own
Oh,
dog.
okay, gotcha.
Pepita is Esteban's dog.
Yeah, yeah. So he
So
died in the
you
car.
have this like, oh, she survived, and then
Ugh.
boom, she dies.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I also love there's the sequence where he like walks through the mines at the end.
yeah,
First of
yeah,
all,
he just
the
like
scene where they blow up both cars, I just think is, I mean, it's spectacular. I mean,
it
it's like
is. It is.
so impressive to look at, and that's in the trailer. I knew that was gonna happen. I knew at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
one of them was gonna blow up.
gonna blow up. Yeah,
Um, but and then the people, like as he's running, he's like calling out Lewis's name. He's like Lewis, and then he like fucking like they keep. There's like the one shot where the guy runs and it's like in a wide shot and he blows up,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
there's another guy that runs, and it like cuts to like a medium shot of him as he's running from close up, and you're just like, oh, this is. I mean, it's very tense. But I
yeah,
love there's a shot they like cut to Lewis like
yeah,
across the way, and there's like
yeah,
a dust storm that like sweeps
yeah.
a bunch of dust through, and just like this is spectacular looking. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, that was a great shot.
and you
Yeah, that's
can't recreate that on a soundstage. I mean, they are filming in the middle of nowhere, and I think it
nowhere.
certainly contributes to the overall tone and experience. Because I do think this feels like watching like a fable almost, or like so,
Yeah,
like a,
interesting. Yeah,
and I think that title definitely kind of parallels that. It almost reminds me of like the Green Knight. Did you ever see that?
I
Um,
have not. I have to see
hard
it. I have not.
recommend. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah. I know
something.
you loved
It's,
it. Yeah.
but well, I didn't love it. It's
Oh
a.
well.
It's a. It's by the guy who did a Ghost Story, David Lowery.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, if you've seen that, is
Yes,
also a
I have.
very, very challenging film to watch. I would say The Green Knight is the same way. Definitely like an
Oh,
F
yeah,
cinema score type movie where it sells itself as like a Game of Thrones style, really
yeah, yeah.
intense, brutal action, or not action film, but fantasy film, and then it's kind of a brooding, I guess if apparently that's how the source material is too. But anyway, this feels like that though, where it's like this long, it's like an odyssey of sorts,
Mhm.
um, and a journey through the wilderness essentially to hopefully. But yeah, I also one other note though that I want that going back to
Yeah,
the whole daughter idea
mm,
is
yeah.
like we don't even get a resolution on whether or not he
That's what I'm
finds her.
saying.
What is the
Never
significance of that choice though? I guess is my question. You know what I mean?
to
So
get
why do
to
we
get
end
to get him
before
there.
that moment?
To get him there. And there's illusions like at some point I felt that the Ravers knew his daughter or knew more about her. And I
Interesting.
thought that was going to be the big reveal.
Hmm.
And like when after Esteban dies, and they're like, "Oh, who's going to tell him? I'm not going to tell him." And
Hmm.
I thought that's when they're going to confess. We know your daughter. We know what happened to your daughter. But it's like that's what I mean. It's like that payoff never happens.
Sure.
So Esteban's death kind of like it overshadows it, which
Sure.
obviously. And then I'm like, I guess he felt like saying, "Oh, well, that didn't matter," or "Don't worry about it. This is gonna make you," because that's what happened to me. Like I was kind of like, I'm not invested anymore. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. And then when Esteban dies, that's when I'm like, oh, so because of that hereditary type shocking moment,
Hmm.
it got me back into the film.
Sure.
And even though I like you at the end, I'm like, oh, they're never gonna fucking talk about the daughter.
And
But
I
I
mean,
was like,
maybe we just
everything else
assume that he
happened.
gets to her. But again, I think what you're talking about with maybe it's his fault is an interesting idea. Again, I don't. These aren't things I have the answers to. I just saw the movie two
Yeah,
hours
yeah,
ago.
no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I
yeah,
would I would be curious to see it again with that in mind for sure. I
yeah,
mean, ultimately, I think there's a lot of interesting ideas here, and I love the
yeah.
tone of it, and I love the look of it, and I love the land, I love the environment of it, and I
Environment.
think
Yeah,
I like the way that that ties into just the overall tone and brutality of the later portions of it. I think
Yeah,
it avoids some of the main tropes of like a desert movie also, other than just they're in the middle of nowhere, and
yeah, yeah,
if their vehicle blows up like it did, like they're gonna die or gonna have a really hard
yeah,
time making it back to civilization. Um, you know, like he can't bury his son, like
yeah,
because
yeah.
of
That
the
was something else
circumstances of it.
because yeah, he was like he was telling the French guy he's got to go back. He
Mm.
can't let his son be dead there, and that's another thing that we assume that will happen, but we don't know
Yeah,
when
and
because
it's
like
like is
how's
this
he
even a
gonna
happy
find this
ending? I don't.
place?
I know,
Yeah,
like
oh
is
yeah, yeah. Like
yeah, yeah, like how is he gonna have the resources to be able to get back out there, get the
get back
son?
out there
I
to
mean, the
get the
odds of
son.
that.
Yeah,
I mean, and does he even go back? I don't know that we know the answers to that.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Um, and in the context of the title too, like do we think that he enters paradise or not? I don't know that. It's clearly this is a perilous trial.
yeah. You definitely left you thinking about that. Like, is this
Like,
does he?
even if he
Yeah,
does get to freedom or safety, it doesn't necessarily mean like what cost, right? I mean,
at
I
what
think.
cost? Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I think for me the missing component to all of these ideas is whether or not he's worth being judged negative, like whether or not he's worth being punished. Because to some degree, it does feel like at least we don't have that information. I don't know.
yeah.
It's a missing piece for me. But I think it's worth revisiting, in my opinion. I would like to see it on the big screen. Um, River Oaks is playing it right now, so I might go check
Oh, I
it
was gonna
out.
say yeah.
Take some friends to see it maybe this weekend or something that haven't seen it. But yeah, I mean, it's left me thinking about it. I'm definitely curious to rewatch it, even with that kind of slower opening. And I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
think it's a slow opening. I do think
Oh,
there's,
yeah.
um, but yeah, but
And
there's
that
also
goes
some of the most
without
spectacular
saying.
sequences I've seen on film, all
Yeah,
in the past
I mean,
year. So.
there are some beautiful scenes. Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah.
So anyway, that's a Sirat. If the title of our podcast has never been more accurate about our feelings on this one, it's definitely worth a discussion for sure. And I
I
think,
mean, yeah, we did
um,
that.
yeah, I think for those that like movies, I think there's something to chew on there. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
worth
I yeah, I agree with
the
that. You
wait.
have to be a lover of film to appreciate it. I will say that right off the bat. Yeah.
But anyway, what's your pick of the week?
I'm gonna end up saying Fitzcarraldo. I think you dig that movie. It's just an insane, Warner Herzog always goes there with the insanity of people, and I think that's such a great and the movie's just so relentless, and it's also very beautiful to look at, because of the shots of the mountains and everything, and the vastness of bringing this boat over the friggin' mountain. And Klaus Kinski is always a joy to watch. He's like insane in everything he does. It's also a long film, 2 hours and I think 40 minutes. So
Mm.
I think you would dig it definitely. So
Yeah, sounds interesting to me.
check it out.
I like Werner
Yeah,
Herzog, so
yeah.
I kind of went back and forth on what to recommend for this, but the thing that the thing that this film reminded me the most of, which is kind of to some degree random, is Revenge from 2017. Have you seen this? Have you heard of this? It's from the director. I'm gonna butcher the name, but it's like Coralie Farja from The Substance. She made The Substance. It was
Oh,
her debut feature.
interesting. I mean,
It's also very much a survival film, very much like a
oh, I have not seen it,
woman
but I
versus
know.
wilderness. I found
Yes,
this on
I know what you're talking
Blu-ray
about.
at
Yeah.
Half Price Books randomly, so I actually have a physical copy of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Really lean, fun horror thriller, body horror thriller movie.
Is it a body horror film? I didn't know that.
In the survival way, more of an
Yeah.
injury related one.
Oh,
It's
okay.
very violent and very
Violent.
fun because of it.
Yeah.
As the title would imply, it is very much a revenge film. Something horrible
Yeah.
happens to this woman in like an isolated rich person's estate,
Mhm.
relevant to today's revelations.
Yeah. Right.
And she gets her revenge. So that's the
Okay.
movie. It's very hyper
Oh,
violent
definitely.
and really fun. Very good. And it's also set in like a very desert like
Yeah. Yeah.
environment. And I don't know, this movie just reminded me a lot of it, even though it's very different.
Okay.
So that's my
Yeah.
pick of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
week.
All
Um,
right. definitely gonna watch
Yeah,
that.
if you
I
like The
see.
Substance, go check out
Yeah.
Revenge. Or if
Also,
you
then
liked
Rhonda's definitely gonna love it. Rhonda loves the substance.
I will say it's more I mean, it's challenging. Like in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
there is I guess worth a trigger warning for sexual assault. It's rough,
yeah. That
but
I know. Yeah,
it's
that
not graphic, but it is rough.
yeah, yeah.
And the men are awful in it, and it's kind of fun also. So I mean, not that they're awful, but that she
No,
is
that
awful.
that she gets revenge on these pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, very well executed movie also. So that's my pick of the week. I just thought the landscape of it just reminded me a lot of Sirat. So,
Sherrod. Okay.
yeah, I had that in the back of my mind while I was watching this. So anyway, I guess that's it for episode
That's episode
50
50.
of
I enjoyed
Indecisive
it.
Cinema.
I think then episode 50, though, it should have been this giant bells and whistles. I think we actually got a good conversation out of Surratt. I was
Yeah,
like,
I mean, hey,
yeah,
I mean, I thought about that. I realized it was episode 50 when I was like going to watch this movie, and when we could have probably done something different
yeah,
for it,
like,
but I mean,
yeah, yeah,
we'll do an Oscars one. We always do that though. That's I
yeah.
feel
I
like
know. No, 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 no. I'm just saying
I feel
that.
like we come back more for like the top 10 of the years and
Yeah, I
the
know, right?
Oscar discussions and it's rare. I feel like we've been really consistent with these just picking a singular film,
Yeah,
talking about what we
and
saw
I've
for the
been
week
digging that.
and
Yeah,
yeah, I mean it's whether or not people care to watch this, I mean, it's not up to
yeah.
me,
I
nor
know
do I
people.
care.
I I know people who do, so I'm happy about that.
But yeah,
Right?
it's good stuff. I'm glad we're sticking with it, and that we've been here for 11 years. So, oh, there's a
11
kitty.
years.
There's a kitty in the background. She just walked through. This will
I'm
be our best
jealous.
episode yet because there's a kitty here. Anyway,
All
yeah,
right,
that's
bro.
it.
Well, I'm Carlos Hernandez, everybody.
I'm Jeremy Knight. Well, yeah, we'll just introduce ourselves at the very end of the
I know,
episode.
right at the end of everything.
Anyway, y'all have a good week.
You too. I'll see you on the next one. You guys take care.